Hey everybody, welcome on into the Sports Live and welcome into Sports Live in the 215. I don't know quite what that was, but here to today we'll discuss the Eagles and Jaguars recap. The Eagles snuck away with a not very impressive 28-23 victory. They actually started out with a 22-0 lead, and the the just hold on. The decisions by Nick Sirianni, that's where I was going, were questionable to say the very least. I'll admit, going for it on 4th and 3, I like the call because it's one-on-one with your best receiver against a against any corner, especially when your receiver's AJ Brown. That's gonna give you an advantage. So yeah, I like the call, but as far as how many times he went for two, I I didn't I didn't agree with a lot of those calls, simply because if you just maybe take an extra point or take some field goals on 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 some of those other fourth downs, you put a team like Jacksonville away. And yeah, and I think Nick was trying to be was trying to be a little too cute. And you know what it reminded me of? Doug Peterson in 2020. Like he tried to like turn the game into like three-dimensional chess when sometimes playing checkers would work. And it's just like he just kind of outthought himself. Like the 4th and inches, I believe the Eagles were on the 50. Like, why would you run a QB sprint out pass when the offensive line is the strength of your team? And loyal listeners of the podcast will know that I'm a big Nick Sirianni guy. So but I thought his decisions were terrible yesterday. I thought he was coaching recklessly, and his decision making was reckless, and it put the team in a bad position. And as a head coach, I don't feel like you can really afford to do that too often, even if you do have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, and arguably one of the most talented rosters in Philadelphia Eagles history. I mean, the amount of talent that's on this team is absolutely just absurd. I mean, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, um, who else? Jahan Dotson, uh, Nakobe Dean, etc., etc. So, like, this roster has enough talent to make a deep run into the playoffs. Nick just has to make better decisions that puts the team in a more advantageous position. I I like that I like that he's aggressive. I don't mind the aggressiveness, but there's a difference in between. There's a difference between being aggressive and being stupid. And Nick Sirianni, I felt like he was fully on the stupid side of that in a lot of cases. Um, but we but on a brighter note, like, hey, they got the win, so that has to count for something. One thing, before we dive more into the game, this is something I learned from listening to the Eagle Eye podcast this morning. Um, Shout out to Ruben Frank. He was the one who brought this up. Um, this this year is the first time in Eagles history that the Eagles defense has started all 11 guys that are aged 27 or younger. First time that's ever happened for a franchise that dates back to 1933. So that's something that I certainly didn't know. It's certainly a pretty cool thing. And hey, those young guys are coming are what am I trying to say? They're starting to gel. They're starting to understand what what Vic Fangio wants. Give me 1 second. And speaking of defense, that interception by Nakobe Dean, oh my God, ew! That was absolutely one of the greatest plays I think I've seen from a linebacker. And like the kid, the guy's uber talented, and he showed you why he was a high priority for the Eagles to get just 2 drafts ago. And yeah, he's slowly but surely starting to kind of make that draft pick worth it. And I don't think it was necessarily fair for a lot of Eagles fans to call him a bust after 23, because I know he had the redshirt year in 22, but tw- but 2023 was really his first year his first year playing um, really any snaps at all. So I think you just had to kind of give give the give Nakobe some grace. And today or yesterday he made he made a big play. He actually I want to say he made a couple big plays. He tipped he tipped a Trevor Lawrence pass that ended up being intercepted um, by um, Zach Bond. There we go. And that kind of um, helped us continue rolling. Of course, what got it started was Sidney Brown forcing a fumble, and then I wanna say Bond recovered that as well. You, um, hold on. Yeah. So the defense I thought largely played well. And another stat I learned from watching Ruben Frank's observations was through the last 4 games, the Eagles have given up an average of 11.7 points per game and just 214 yards. That's the 11.7 and 214. The 11.7 points and 214 yards are the fewest an Eagles defense has given up over a 4-game period since 1991. Yes, that the gangrene defense, and my I know if when my when my dad and Frank watch this, they'll probably go crazy hearing me mention the 1991 Eagles defense. So there you go, Dad. I love you. Anyway, yeah, I thought I thought the offense played well. Jalen Hurts was absolutely terrific. 2 touchdown passes, another game with no turnovers. I thought he was absolutely masterful. He had this offense humming along like a well-oiled machine, and that's why he is, I believe, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And yeah, it's so exciting when he's on. I truly believe he's top 5 in the league when he's on his game like he is right now. He's on I think this is a basketball term. He's on what basketball people call a heater. Like he's just playing so well, and everything seems to be moving along in the right direction. Excuse me. Yeah. When a moment in yesterday's game that really scared me was when AJ left the game in the third quarter, and then AJ left the game in the third quarter, and then from there, Devontae Smith just took over. Luckily, AJ's injury doesn't appear to be as serious as initially thought, so that's good. Because we need him out there, and like I know what the stats show when AJ Brown is on the field versus when he's not, but if you look at every quarterback benefits when their number one weapon is out on the field with them. I'm sorry, I don't care if it's Brett Favre, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. If Tom Brady didn't have Rob Gronkowski, you would see a different player. Now that difference would probably be marginal because it's Tom Brady, but you would see a difference. Like there wouldn't be that elite guy that you can just throw the ball up to. You'd have to be a lot more judicious with how you distribute the ball. But yeah, luckily AJ's injury does not appear to be serious, so that's great news for the Eagles. Um, and one thing that's been touched on by every every sports outlet from here to Alaska is that Saquon hurdle in the first quarter. Yeah, I believe it was in the first quarter. He jumped. I've never seen someone hurdle a guy backwards. Like he literally like he was. Huh, I I'm at a loss for words. It was the most jaw-dropping thing I've ever seen on any athletic field. And I've been around sports for most of my 22 years. Um, there was there was probably like my my first year when I was in the hospital for like the first 4 months of it that I wasn't really around sports like that. But oh my god, that Saquon hurdle was the I think it might be the greatest play I've ever seen. Um, the probably the greatest offensive play. Like it, words really like I know it's my job to kind of describe stuff, but like I can't even put into words how ridiculous that was. And well, um, yeah, it's crazy seeing a guy like Saquon be fully unleashed. Not that he wasn't in New York, but I feel like because this team has so many other weapons around him, you've got AJ, Devontae, Jahan, Calcaterra now. I know he's the number 2 tight end, but still, Grant Calcaterra. Don't 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 sleep on this guy. Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith, etc., etc. Um, like it it really seems like Saquon Barkley is fully just unleashed because defenses aren't keying on him anymore. And let's be real, even when they were, he still was ridiculous in New York. But um, it's it's risen to a level where his talent and the talent around him have kind of finally for him they've kind of met, and it's really a sight to behold, and I'm so excited to see how the rest of this season goes. It's gonna be a battle between Saquon and Derrick Henry for offensive player of the year. And I've 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 had the pleasure of watching some Derrick Henry games because like I'm here in Maryland. Um, but that guy is absolutely just ridiculous. He's probably the angriest runner of this generation, and it's gonna be fun as we go down the stretch to see who edges the other one out for offensive player of the year. Now, as we now as I transition, one thing I really want to touch on is just the the how can I put this? Just the that absolutely just ridiculous catch by Devontae Smith to put the Eagles up 28-16, which was followed by yet another inexplicable 2-point conversion call. But I digress. I digress. But oh my God, that was absolutely just what it was. It's definitely a Sports Center worthy play, and the Eagles had a couple of them in this game, and honestly, I think our high end premium talent saved Nick Sirianni's ass today. I'm gonna be honest. He was absolutely putrid. I'm all for being aggressive, but he was like I mentioned before. He was very reckless and just very stupid. So hopefully Nick and the young Nick and all the young guys on defense can learn from their mistakes, and hopefully when you have the next time you have a 22-point lead, they can figure out how to lock it down a little bit sooner. Make everybody in the Delaware Valley and in Maryland not have a heart attack. But anyway, I digress. I'm glad we're 6-2. Thank you guys for listening to this. And as always, go Birds.